Thank you very much, and welcome to everybody, and I'm so glad to be here. There's so many committed people who care so deeply about the direction that our country is taking, and right now we are in a very serious crisis, as we all know. Let me just say a couple of things at the outset. You know, I've been in the pro-life movement for 37 years. I've been in Congress now for 29 years. I've co-chaired the Congressional Pro-Life Caucus, a bipartisan caucus. Bart Stupak is the Democrat co-chair for the last 27 years. Never in all of those years have I been more concerned, and I know you share that, and I know our panelists share that, about the abortion promotion coming out of the White House. The culture of death promoted by Barack Obama, by his Secretary of State, by his cabinet, by Sebelius, by the sub-cabinet, and by appointees, by czars, is outrageous and it's unconscionable. The unborn child and his or her mother are more at risk now than ever since Roe versus Wade itself. And the current health care debate is the point of contact, is the place where we have to stand firm to ensure that we do not see any further diminution of protection for the unborn child, but on the other side of that coin, we see no further expansion of the culture of death. I do believe that Obamacare represents the greatest threat since Roe versus Wade itself. They're going for it all. They're using an enormous amount of deception, misdirection, saying one thing over here while doing precisely the opposite over there. The abortion rights organizations have been playing this game, using code words like reproductive health and reproductive rights, interchangeably with abortion, but trying to deceive America about what they're really about. We know that if Obamacare becomes law, approximately 1/3 more abortions will occur at a time when there has been a steady, persistent decline in the killings of unborn children and the woundings of their mothers, at a time when the trend line is going in our direction in all areas, including and especially among our young people who increasingly identify as pro-life. When the polls show, even the Gallup poll, which so often asks the question in a way that elicits most likely the worst possible outcome for ourselves, we're seeing even the Gallup poll saying America is pro-life. Against all of that, the abortionists have teamed up with Barack Obama, the abortion president, to try to force you and I, to coerce you and I, to compel every American to subsidize abortion in this health care plan. When the president said, seemingly airtight rhetoric the other night, that under our plan, no federal dollars will be used to fund abortion, those words were demonstrably false and extraordinarily misleading. I say that, my friends, with profound sadness that the president would get on such a stage with all America and many in the world looking on and make that kind of false statement. It is unconscionable. We know that the plan that was marked up in the House of Representatives, 3 committees of the House, and Dr. Price did a magnificent job in fighting for life and for other important aspects on health care reform, real reform. We know for a fact that when they talk about the Hyde Amendment somehow covering the public option and the affordability credits, 2 brand new programs, that's just not so. The Hyde Amendment covers Medicaid funding for abortion. It covers those items contained within the Department of Health and Human Services appropriations bill. What Obamacare would establish is 2 brand new programs. One would provide upwards of 400% of poverty, so those after Medicaid, but up to 400% of poverty, they would get affordability credits on a declining scale based on their ability to pay to buy health insurance. The language could not be more clear that Secretary Sebelius, or any HHS secretary, would have the clear authority to impose abortion on demand in the public plan. It's right there in black and white. That is publicly funding for abortion. We see very clearly the public plan, the affordability credits, will expand the opportunities to destroy children, will create additional venues. Every state jurisdiction, every single one of them, will have to have a plan that has abortion in it in the private sector. One of the great successes of all of you and all of us fighting for life in this great human rights struggle of our time has been the fact that there are many counties in this country, a majority of counties, that have no abortionists. They are no longer in business. The grisly business of dismembering and chemically poisoning unborn children has become increasingly offensive to healthcare providers, especially doctors, and they want none of it. That will change if Obamacare becomes law. And finally, later on this evening, I'll be in New Jersey at a healthcare forum focused on the culture of life, and Dr. Alveda King, Martin Luther King's niece, will be there. She will be the headliner, and I am looking forward to hearing her speak. Every time she speaks, I am inspired and encouraged. Here is a woman, a civil rights leader in her own right, who had 2 abortions. Now she is passionately pro-life. Now she says, how can my uncle, her uncle being Dr. Martin Luther King, how can the dream survive of inclusion if we murder the children? She speaks out and says that we need a society that reaches out to post-abortive women and seeks opportunities for reconciliation. We know that studies clearly show women who have had abortions on the intermediate and long-term psychological aspects are more prone to clinical depression and even other abuses, including suicide. We know that prematurity, the risk, another study just came out of Canada, 35% increase in the risk of prematurity and low birth weight babies. The breast cancer connection. Abortion is bad for women. It hurts women. It exploits women. And it destroys children. Martin Luther King's niece, Alveda King, calls each and every one of us, and I'm talking to as well to those people who are maybe in the middle, who may hear this through some other means, C-SPAN or whatever. Dr. King calls out and says, stop the enabling of this gross exploitation of women and this terrible, terrible killing of unborn children by dismemberment and by chemical poisoning. Abortion is not health care.